Yo ya sabía pa' dónde iba, así es que no batallé. Ya tenía trazado el camino, no la pensé y me la rifé. Y que ahora viene la mía, que tanto es tantito se pueda perder. Es que de estar hasta el fondo no había más para abajo y pues para arriba fue. Los planes que cargaba en mente pronto los materialicé. Con la ayuda de dos amigos y luego se sumaron tres. Una voz que me decía: échele ganas, mijo, jamás pierda la fe. Seguí la corazonada y así grité al mundo que traía con qué. Disfrutando del proceso, no me preocupo del mañana ni el ayer. Si el presente aquí lo tengo y voy a atorarle hasta donde el corazón me dé. Y nomás lo que es, chavalones.
Estamos a la orden, sus amigos los chavalitos, oiga.
A mi ama como le agradezco, este párrafo es para usted. Lo que soy a usted se lo debo, usted me hizo un hombre de bien. Sus valores y consejos también uso el cinto para hacerme entender. Y lo que no tiene precio es amor sincero que siempre tendré. Mi Dios ha sido generoso, me da más de lo que soñé. Una familia muy hermosa, mi linda esposa y mi bebé. De lo material no hablo porque eso va y viene, que haya para comer. Y que la salud no falte, tampoco las ganas de siempre hacer el bien. Sencillo, también austero, nunca me fijo en la moneda ni el papel. Un saludo a los sinceros y para mi gente al millón son siempre estaré.
Man, Benny, that is one heck of a nice song. Where did you get it at? What's the name of it?
Man, I've had it for a long time. Se llama Yo ya sabía para dónde iba.
Well, could you translate that to English?
I knew where I was going.
I always knew where I was going.
Where I was headed to, you know.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good song, plus the pictures. Hey guys, before we get started, man, let's start welcoming everybody that's watching it. We got our sister all the way from Riverside. She's been with us from the very beginning. And we got the beautiful Ashley Cruz, which is Benny Cruz's daughter. Thank you, Ashley, watching us live right now. We got San Diego PD legend, gang detective, robbery legend, 1097. You're going to really enjoy today's cases, Chris. They're related to a lot of cases that you probably handled or worked with Benny without him even knowing that you guys worked together on them, robbery cases. We got Jim DeJanis, Batman, the legend, the Pelican Bay legend, watching us all the way from Thailand. We got another one of our brothers, man. Greetings from Long Beach. I think yesterday you were at Huntington Beach. You were somewhere else other than Long Beach, but he's been with us from the very beginning. We got Peter Acevedo checking in from Colorado, but I have to drop off. Good song. Hey, right on, Pete. You know, it was a beautiful song. And we got Fidel Santillan. He's going to be on with us. Looking, Bobby, this is going to be a great story on ICE special agent. He was part of the fugitive task force. I believe he did like 23, 24 years on that task force. Fidel, welcome, brother. We're looking forward to having you. Ben Galvan, you never called me back, but if you ever do, we would love to have you tell your story growing up in LA, then becoming the sheriff, and then the legend goes from there. I know you're watching us live from Punta Banda, Baja California, Mexico. And hello, Ben. Pira Severo, te manda saludes. All right, guys. With that said, Bobby, we'll start off with you. What are you drinking today, brother?
I'm drinking today because we got a special guest. So I got my go-to tequila is a Lalo. It's the grandson from the maker of Don Julio. And I got me a nice, good shot glass, a Mexican-style shot glass right there. Well, there it is.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Bobby, tell us the story behind Lalo. Any history behind that?
No, just Don Julio. I was a big Don Julio fan, but they sold to like a big corporate, big company. I think it's not the same anymore. They start at, mass producing, but the maker of Lalo is the grandson of the patriarch of or at least the last patriarch of that family. So I like the product he's making, and a lot of them are always going out and making the clear, the reposado, and all the other different ones. They only do this one. This is the only one they're making right now.
And is it what's the taste? I mean, does it take like some of the most expensive bottles of Don Julio?
To me, I love it. It has that agave taste. You could taste that toasty, that taste to it. I love it. I don't want to taste sugar. I don't want to taste anything else. And I'm drinking that and my black coffee. And I'm having a ceniza fina. I'm going to light it up right now.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect with your cigar.
Benny, this is a cigar that the Dodgers smoked to celebrate the World Series. It's a ceniza fina corojo. Love this cigar. I got 2 left. I got to get another box.
Wow. And Fidel saying good stuff while you're drinking Lalo, additive free. He just got back from Mexico City. Fidel, I'm sure he had a couple of shots of that. And we got Big Joe 67 watching us all the way from Salinas, California. Thank you, brother, for watching us once again. Benny, tell us, what are you drinking? I thought for sure, Benny, before you tell us, I know what it is, but tell our audience, you were going to drink your famous moonshine, brother.
Oh, that stuff gets to me real quick, dude. That moonshine kicks butt. So I'm drinking a bottle of tequila que me dieron on my birthday. Se llama Hacienda de Chihuahua H5 Extra Anejo Sotel.
Can you put the bottle up so we could see it, see what it looks like?
Downstairs. I'm in my office. I got the bottle downstairs. Yeah. But when I sipped it, I mean, you were looking when we were talking early.
Oh, yeah.
I shot it, and it just kind of burned all the way down. It was like heavy fire all the way down.
Yeah. Hey, Bobby, have you heard of that tequila, Bobby? The one he's talking about? I've never heard of it.
I have. My daughter-in-law got me a bottle about a year ago. She's from Guadalajara, and I was in San Diego, and she gave me that one, and the other one was that tequileno. That's another one. That's a really good one.
Yeah. No, the moonshine's like water, dude. I drink that thing like water, and it hits you hard.
And this one burns you.
Yeah, this one burns me. This one warns me. You better stop.
Yeah. Well, good. Hey, Alfredo Arenas, I had the privilege, the honor of working with him when he was Mexico liaison. He was, I believe, the chief liaison for the state of Baja California Norte. Alfredo, I'll reach out to you through Chalo. I believe he has your number. We would love to have you on Ash Wednesday in the near future. Hopefully, if you're available. And I understand now that you're also working for a professional baseball team. And hey, brother, we would love to hear your stories in Mexico and what you're doing now. I believe it's with the Dodgers, but we'll find out. We'll have you on soon. Guys, with that said, we're going to do a special toast right now. We celebrated her birthday yesterday, but we're going to do it one more time. Benny's beautiful bride, beautiful wife. Happy birthday, Patsy. Her birthday was on Monday the 17th. They had a double toast with whiskey or tequila, whatever they were drinking. One, her birthday, and St. Patrick's Day. With that said, guys, feliz cumpleaños. Patsy, we honor you with a toast. Salud. A ver las caras.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, a ver las caras. Hey, guys, you know what? I'm excited. Today we're going to have an awesome show. And looking forward, it's going to be a great show. I'm going to introduce Benny real quick, and then we'll start off with the bad grandpa case, and Bobby will be asking the first question on that. But before that, Benny, I know we've profiled you, but there's a lot of people that are probably listening right now to Apple and to a lot of the other programs that we're prescribed to. So they might not know much about you, but you're a police officer for 42 years. You were a sheriff. You started your career with the Imperial County Sheriff. I don't remember exactly how many years you did, but you did several years there. Then you transferred with the San Diego County Sheriffs. Altogether, you had 42 years of law enforcement experience. You started with corrections. You had an opportunity to work with some high-level Mexican mafia members in Imperial County, also in San Diego, working the county jail. I know for a fact that when you worked in the county jail, you were San Diego PD's contact. Carlos Chacon was a liaison for prison gangs. And if anybody fed them great information, it was you, Benny. And we thank you on behalf of the San Diego Police Department. From there, you became a detective. You worked patrol, and you went over your. If you guys want to actually listen or watch Benny's biography, watch his 2-part series on the gray line, the story behind the gray line, the story behind the blue line. Listen to it or watch it. You'll listen to Benny talk about a lot of the cases that he worked, but there were other cases that he didn't talk about, and that's why today, Benny, we're honored to have you with us. And I know you're coming back because you were in your 42 years, you worked robbery. You worked a lot of the cases that we went over prior to the show today were child abuse cases, were child molestation cases, were a house that was actually fabricating bombs. You responded to that suicide where I believe there was like 30 plus, or I don't remember exactly how many committed suicide by drinking the punch. I mean, that wasn't your case, but you responded to it. I mean, your career in 42 years, the things that you saw, that you experienced, we can't say them all. But today we selected 3 cases, and we're going to start off. Bobby, it's all yours.
Yeah, going off real quick on what David is saying, 42 years, obviously you've seen things that you cannot unsee. And props to you for sticking around so long. Incredible career. I wanted to ask you, or initially jump into the bad grandpa case. You jump into that and explain to us what the bad grandpa case was. Dale.
Well, it was a bank robbery series that was happening throughout San Diego County, and before it was dubbed the Bad Grandpa Bandit series by the FBI. We just knew him as James Saputo. James Saputo was robbing a lot of banks. I had encountered him several times, arrested him. I mean, I knew the guy well. I mean, the guy had a build like you won't believe it. He was like a Viking. This guy was badass. He had been to prison, and while he was there, he hung around bikers. So he was pretty much left alone by the AB and everybody else. He hung around that little group of that little biker world. But I knew James very well. I mean, I knew his face. I knew his body. I knew him well. And all of a sudden, we started getting a new series of robberies, and it looked like a grandpa, looked like an older guy. And we figured, well, he might be trying to impersonate the Geezer Bandit, And then we started saying, well, no, this is. So then when I saw the video on one of the robberies, I said, that's James Saputo. That's James Saputo right there. And he says, you know the guy? I thought, yeah, that's James Saputo. And then we saw that it was a female getaway driver, and said, that's Crazy Mary from Escondido. Peter Acevedo probably knows her. He remembers her. She didn't live in the city of Escondido, but she lived on the outskirts of Escondido. So I said, that's who that is. That's Crazy Mary picking him up. She's a getaway driver. So we started working the guy. We started working robberies. The guy was hitting us hard for quite a while. And like I said, he was disguising himself as an old man. So he does a robbery, and
hey, Benny, before we go to the robberies, how exactly did you know him? Did you know him from the county jail? Did you know him because you arrested him there in Santee or Lakeside? How exactly? I mean, because this guy definitely left an impression on you because, you basically described him, looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids. I mean, how exactly, had you arrested him before for 11,550 for dope? How exactly did you know? I mean, for watching a video and saying that's him, give us a history on that, if you don't mind.
He was arrested for dope, for possession. And I remember walking through the station one day, and they had him in the box, in the interview room. And I saw him. I said, "That's a pretty big boy right there." So I went out there to find out who had the guy that in custody there. And the deputy tells me, "Yeah, we got him for dope. He was in a stolen car. The guy stole cars left and right. He was a good auto theft guy." I said, "Okay, do you mind if I take a look? If I talk to him?" He's not talking. I said, "Okay, I'll go in there and talk to the guy." So I walked in and gave him a thing of water, and he just looks at me and says, "I'm not going to talk." I thought, "I'm not here to talk. I just figured you're probably thirsty. You've been here a while." And I sat there with the guy, and I said, "So how was your arrest?" He says, "Oh, a bunch of fucking assholes. You know how they go off, He's calling the deputies names and everything. "Oh yeah, they can be that way, bro. I understand. I can. They get hyped up, and dude, a guy like you, dude. Of course, they got to be a little bit more cautious. I thought, you're a big boy." I said, "You done time?" He said, "Well, I was in Quentin. I was here. I was there." I thought, "Okay." I thought, "You tipped up?" And asking him if he was part of a gang, like the Aryan Brotherhood. So, "Oh hell no, dude. I ride solo." I thought, "Okay, who do you ride with?" "Nah, I just hung around with some of the bikers." I thought, "Okay." And so I thought, "Also, what do they got you for, man?" "They got me some petty crap, dude. The dope's not even mine." I thought, "Okay, well, I thought that if it's not yours, you're gonna be able to beat this in court easy." Blah blah. We started talking, dude, and we just got along after that. After that, he was arrested, I think, several other times, and I would walk in and just talk to him, free talk, nothing about a case or anything. We just kind of BS. And then when the bank robbery started happening, I arrested him on one of the bank robberies where he ran out of the bank. As he's run out of the bank, I'm driving through that street. I was about a block away. Call comes out, 211 in progress at the bank. So I'm about a block away. So I rolled up and I see him running across the roadway, one of the major intersections, and he jumps in a car and they take off. And I just followed him. I just followed them to see where they were going. I didn't put it out because I figured we got to get sirens, we got to get everything, we got to get into pursuit. So I just wanted to see how far he was going to go. I got my partner to get in the car. He was at the station. He started rolling. We started following him, and we ended up hooking him up in our apartment complex. He went down easy, And so I knew the guy. I knew the guy very well.
And Benny, how many years did he get on that bank robbery that you got him on?
Well, he's still locked up. He's in San Quentin.
No, I'm talking about when you arrested him, he got out and then he pulled this big robbery, right? Or this was before?
A couple of years. About a couple of years. None of them were big robberies, David. They were just chronic robberies. The guy was on a roll, just robbing banks. None of them are big scores. I mean, you're not going to find a big score in a bank. Yeah, you might score a few $1,000s, but that's not a big score. I mean, he was just hungry for that. He was dope. I was using steroids. His wife, his girlfriend she was nuts. She was just a nutty lady.
Okay, so then now tell us about what happened on this one case where they ended up in Fontana.
So he gets released, and we get another robbery, and FBI saying, "Hey, we got another robbery." Blah blah blah. I see the video and I see the from the robbery. I says, "Hey, that's James Saputo. Is he out?" And everybody says, "Who's James Saputo?" So we started looking at it, and the guy says, "Oh, that's the bad grandpa bandit." What? That's what you guys call him? That's James Saputo. So we started looking at it and says, "Hey," so we started running some information, and we got a CI, gave us a location on the guy. They were in a stolen car. So we entered that into our system, So, I don't want to give away game, but the car was spotted. He was spotted northbound on the 15, and then we spotted him again in Fontana. So FBI from San Bernardino started setting up on the guy along with Fontana PD. And they notified us, "Hey, we got him. We got eyes on him. It's a stolen van. It's sitting in the driveway. But there's about nobody's in the van."
And this is in Fontana?
Yeah. It's a known house for Fontana PD. It's a known house. It's a doper house.
Okay.
So they start sitting up on it, and it's okay, we're on our way. So I call my partner from the FBI, Jim Pringle, who was from the FBI. And he says, "Hey, Benny, I'll pick you up. On the way up, I'll pick you up, and we'll head up there together." So he stopped by my house and picks me up, and we head up to Fontana. As we're going up there, we start getting updates from the FBI. "Hey, he's mobile. And from there, Fontana lit him up, and it was a chase. It was a pursuit. He went through all over if you guys know Fontana has a lot of railroad tracks. That area has a lot of railroad. And they're going airborne. They're going here. They're going there. Finally, James, she crashes. She's the driver. She crashes. James takes off running with a gun. She stays in the car. Fontana rolls up on the van. Now there's TC'd on the intersection, and she jumps out of the van. She goes out to the back, comes out the slider, and she's pregnant. She jumps out of the van with a gun.
Wow! And the officers are already there.
Yeah,
they were part of the TC.
Everybody's chasing James because he's the one we want. So a couple of units stay on the car because they see him bails and they figure that we can handle the female. Well, she gets out of there with a gun, and she's pointing the gun at the cops. And there was a rookie cop from Fontana PD who had the drop on her. I mean, she got almost right on his face. I mean, she came down on him, and he holstered his gun.
And Benny, the gun looked real?
Yeah, it looked real.
And the officer, instead of confronting her, holsters his gun?
Yeah, holstered his gun because later on it was determined, he said, well, she was pregnant. I didn't want to kill a pregnant woman.
You know, Benny, I remember, what year was this, Benny?
2007.
2007. Where was I in 2007? I was in gangs in 2007, and I remember hearing about this, about that deputy. She's pregnant. She's 211. He rolls up on it. TC comes out, 417s her, and she immediately comes out with a gun, and he holsters. I remember hearing about that.
Well, she actually came out of the van. She actually came out of the van with the gun already pointed at the cops. Wow. And the first one he encountered was the rookie cop from Fontana PD.
Yeah.
And he panicked. He just says, "Hey, I can't kill a pregnant woman." So he was willing. I guess he was willing to die than shoot a pregnant woman.
Wow. So we're going to hear what ended up happening to him. But it's funny. I'm sorry I'm over talking on this, but Bobby, please feel free. I just wanted to make an emphasis on this, and this is what I talked about last night. We're trained to respond and to stop the threat, but for whatever reason, they should have a scenario like that where a pregnant woman comes out in the academy for whatever reason, right here, Fixer Holmes, watching us all the way from Australia, just says he has morals. Well, one thing's to have morals and one thing's to be on a suicide mission. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this guy panicked, and we have to be prepared for everything, including that. Go ahead, Bobby. I know you had something.
Yeah, it's I was sitting there in my mind thinking, did I ever encounter an armed pregnant woman? No, I've arrested pregnant women. I think it's a funny story we tell about an abuelita at a big family fight as we're trying to arrest a family member. She was hitting me over the head with the old school Mountain Bell telephone. And after the second time, I just turned around and I kind of like a push kick in the panza, and we're on a front porch. She went backwards, hit the railing, and it was old. She went falling backwards. I might as well kicked over the Virgen de Guadalupe because the whole house emptied out on us. It was a riot. I mean, it was. And my boss later says, "Damn, hubby, what the hell did you do?" He goes, "Way to go kicking abuelita." I said, "She was hitting me in the head, first with a handset and then with the base. She hit me." And I finally said, "Okay, that's enough."
Enough. That's the
Yeah. So, that's a tough, to me, the decision, I don't face it, but it's easy to say, I'll shoot her because she could shoot you. She could shoot your partner, I'm not going to martyr myself. What did they tell us? At the end of the day, you got to go home. I got kids and all that, but that's a tough one.
Yeah. Bobby, I got a chance to go to Socorro, New Mexico. FEMA has a facility up there for bombs, for terrorism training. So we were there for training on how to take out a terrorist. And what if the terrorist is a kid with a suicide bomb?
Yeah.
So they were saying America's not ready for this. In other countries, they'll shoot them right away. They'll shoot them in the head and get them out. But is America ready for this? And it's true. We're not ready we weren't ready for a pregnant female coming out with a gun, pointing a gun right at you.
But Benny, do you think, what year did you go to this training?
New Mexico?
Yeah.
Probably 2012, 2011.
Do you think that now America's ready for that terrorist to shoot him in the head?
No, not a kid.
I do. I do. I think
look at
our mindset now. We're seeing what's happening in different parts of the world, and we're faced with, I mean, on time because of social media. That I think our kids, I mean, they practice. I mean, I know that it's video games, but this generation, I don't think they have a problem pulling the trigger. I think we need to. I just don't think they have a problem pulling the trigger. What about you, Bobby? Do you think they do?
I don't know. It depends. I think everybody reacts differently.
Yeah.
We always have people. I wasn't there. I got there seconds after it happened. There was a shooting with 5 cops, and a guy points a shotgun at the cops. 4 of the cops open up. 1 guy didn't shoot. He just said, I just didn't feel threatened at the point. I mean, 4 other guys unloaded and killed this guy. So I think everybody's going to react differently. It's easy to say, this is what I'm going to do, but until you're confronted with that situation. I mean, and all knows, as cops, if people think we're out there hungry to go kill people, think of how many times you didn't shoot somebody where you'd have been justified in shooting them.
Yes.
Somebody running from you with a gun. I saw a guy running from me. I could have shot him in the back, but there was people. There was people. If there was not, it was in the projects. Kids playing in the projects. I would have just shot him in the back. He's running with a gun. I would have been justified. And a lot of people say, "How can you shoot somebody in the back?" I saw Olayala that. So Olayala got shot in the face by chasing a guy who was armed and he didn't see it initially. And he got shot in the face by a gun that they were chasing.
Yeah.
I think that San Bernardino. I think the San Bernardino was a big wake up for law enforcement. The shootout in San Bernardino with the woman and her husband, that terrorist attack in San Bernardino, that was a wake up call for us. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one. Hey guys, you just saw a beautiful German Shepherd. I'm at my daughter's house over here in Orlando. They got tickets to go see Miami Heat against the Pistons. So my daughter, her husband, her 2 kids went over there, and they wanted Grandpa to take care of his 2 other grandchildren. So that's what I'm doing now, babysitting my 2 little grandchildren. I'm going to spend the night. I'll spend the night with them. So right now, you guys just saw Thor, as you could see why they call him Thor. So Benny, getting back to your story. So Benny, so getting back to story. So tell us. So now he holsters up. What does she do next?
Oh, they went up. I mean, she ran. She dropped the gun and ran, and they caught her. She was an easy catch. She's a fighter. She is one nutty lady, and Pete Acevedo knows her because he's from Escondido, so I'm sure he's encountered her. But James took off running, and he put up a fight. Mm-hmm. So when we got on scene, we were told, hey, they got him in the hospital. So we went to the hospital to try to interview him, and wow, couldn't believe it. I mean, I know he put up a fight. I know it took a lot of cops to put him down, but I couldn't recognize him. And he looked at me and says, they got me, Benny. I said, dude, why did you fight? He says, I ain't going down easy. He was just a tough guy.
Yeah.
Tough guy. And then I see him in court again down the line. A few months later, I see him down the line, and he's got all that grown hair. I couldn't even recognize him again. He looked like a very old man.
Hey, Benny, you mentioned, did you guys respond during the shootout? Did he actually have a shootout with the cops?
No, he was firing, but he never engaged him like firefight. He just kept shooting at them to kind of get him away. Uh-huh. And they just surrounded him. There was just too many of them coming after him. And he got caught.
And then you mentioned Pete Acevedo came up right now when he's talked about Mary. I'm sure, was he there that day too? Because I guess a lot of sheriffs responded too. Or
no, that's San Bernardino. So it was all San Bernardino cops, San Bernardino sheriff, San Bernardino FBI, Fontana PD. From San Diego, it was just me and Pringle from the FBI in San Diego. Because it was our case. It
was your case.
Yeah, it was our case. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But you know what, Bobby? I wanted to make an emphasis that cops that are watching the show, active cops and retired cops. Me personally, I was never confronted with that situation. I could say I know what I would do, but I was never confronted with that situation. And so tell us, Benny, what happened to that deputy? The one that
it was that police officer, Fontana police
officer. I'm sorry, the police officer
terminated. He was on probation, so they just terminated him. He was a liability. It's a liability for himself and his partners.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Benny, did it make a difference that he was on probation? If he wouldn't have been on probation, do you think they still would have fired him or sent him back to training?
There's a good chance right there. Well, you never get sent back to training. You're gonna get reprimanded. I mean, there's a good chance that that he could have gotten days off on the beach. I don't think he can get away with a verbal reprimand. I think they would have given him days off on the beach.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that probably would have been it. But he's on probation. They can get rid of you easy when you're on probation. You have no stance. You're on probation.
Yeah.
And the bottom line, he was a liability to himself and others.
Exactly. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was, when I was in a plainclothes unit, I was fighting a guy for a gun. And as I have my hands on the gun, trying to push it away from me, other cops are running. I was yelling, shoot him, shoot him. And the first cop that got there put a gun right to underneath here and just went pop. I didn't hear the gunshot because it was, I was just concentrated here and the guy died. Eventually was able to pull the gun away. But, imagine if it would have been some guy that says, well, how could I shoot him? You have control of the gun. No, I didn't have. I was losing control of the gun. It was his gun. And luckily, just old Salt came over. I think he was a Vietnam vet. I was surprised he didn't put the gun to his head. He shot him right underneath the arm. And the round went right through, blew out his aorta, hit a rib, and lodged in his ass, and he bled out.
Bobby, when I was working in internal affairs, we would respond to all the OISs. I responded to 2 officer-involved shootings. I was there for 2 years. During those 2 years, we rotated. It just happened that I was on the rotation when these 2 shootings. There was a lot more back then, but one of them was your same scenario. But the officer actually shot him in the back of the head. But they were fighting for the gun and for the officer's gun, and literally, that gun could have gone off either way. And I've seen several of those. I've been involved where I didn't shoot, but I've been involved where we're fighting for guns. And I think the majority of us cops have had that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one where
happened to the female?
There was a guy fighting with my partner right in the middle of an intersection in Lakeside when I worked patrol. And he had his gun. The gun was up in the air. They're fighting for the gun. I ran all the way up to the guy and pressed that .357 Magnum right on his, and I was going to blast him. But there was a crowd. The first thing that came out was, it's going to enter and exit. It's going to hit a bystander. So instead, I just holstered up and I hit him with a sap. I sapped him right across the face. Knocked him out. Oh. A sap blow right to the face.
You're old school if you carried a sap. I was able to carry a sap for about 6 months till they took them away from us.
We still carry saps. Our department still is allowed to carry saps. I understand. Really? They haven't taken them. Most guys don't because they don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Those they work very good. Hey, I was going to ask you, what happened to the female? She got arrested, but you don't think whatever happened to her?
She went. I'm not sure because we really weren't interested in her. So Fontana took her into custody probably on a 245 or some kind of charge. We never dealt with her. We just wanted him. Like I said, we went from the scene straight to the hospital to interview him and get a statement, get some photos on him, and try to get everything going. How long is he going to stay there? Who's going to pay for security for the hospital? Because somebody's got to stay with him because he's in custody. So he said, there's going to be San Bernardino sheriff, or is it going to be, or am I going to have to bring people from San Diego to watch the guy? So there's a lot of work up that has to be done because we had PC for the guy. We didn't have a warrant for him yet. We had PC to arrest, which means we could just bring him easily back to San Diego. See, we were thinking about getting a warrant for him, but we figured if we get him with a warrant, then we got to house him at the facility of the county where he gets arrested. He's going to want to stay there for a while. He's going to play the game. He's not going to want to come back to San Diego because he's got a right to fight that extradition to San Diego County. They never win. But if it's just PC, we don't need anything. We just bring him from anywhere in California. We can bring him back to San Diego without a warrant.
Hey, Benny, changing gears here. So you went from robbery, and we're going to come back. You're coming back to talk about more robbery. The geezer bandit. We'll talk about that at the end if we have time. But we're going to shift gears. So now you're a robbery detective. So now you get a 288, a child molestation case, the Venegas case. Can you share with us the beginning of that? And we're not going to show any pictures, but just take us through your investigation and what your finding was.
Well, the Venegas case is still an open case. So I'm not going to give out too much on that because there's a warrant for the guy. But I was at the station, and here's a lady, very humble-looking Mexican lady, along with a young girl, and they're Spanish speakers. There's no other Spanish speakers there. So I walk by and I say, hey, there's a Spanish speaker. We need somebody. Something's going on with the family. They're both crying. I says, oh, shit. Okay, I'll go talk to her. So I go to the lobby and I talk to them, and from there it just evolved. I got interested in the case. Dad was molesting his daughter, which happened to be his stepdaughter, but he had her since she was tiny, since she was a baby. It was basically dad.
Can you share with us or share with our listeners particulars? I know that he's not in custody. He's currently a fugitive in Mexico, but just so they could know what your process was, your interviews. I mean, you don't have to get into the sexual act on itself, but when it started. So if they're watching the show, they can basically see if they have a relative that is going through the same thing, know what to look for. Well,
we handle cases a lot different from San Diego PD. We actually respond to SARTs, and she was actually of the age. She had just turned 18. So once she told me the story, I says, okay, when was the last time he had contact with you? He said, last night. Okay, figure. So I had my partner say, call SART, tell him we got somebody coming in. SART is the sexual assault response team. They do a forensic, examination on the victim. And with San Diego PD, the detectives don't respond. Back then, they weren't responding, so maybe they are now. But we have always responded to all SART interviews. We get the case from the get-go. We go to everything. Because during your SART, you get to hear the story, you get to hear more, and you get to hear from the nurse what their findings are. So, I started interviewing her, got enough to get her to SART. After the SART, I heard more because they were going to do a complete exam on her, and I found out that this guy had done every sex act you could think of, had done it on his daughter. Everything you can think about, he did it. So it was a long forensic, examination with her. We got her back. And the guy was gone. We didn't know where he was. So we got him, and I got a hold of a lady who had, I can't remember what they were called. There's shelters where they can shelter domestic violence victims and victims of sexual assault. So we were able to put him up that night because I wanted to interview her the next day. So she comes into the station the next day, and there was so many acts and so many dates. It was unbelievable. So based on my experience, I had worked other sex crimes before. So I got a calendar and I started asking her, okay, let's look at dates. So he did this to you the day before you came in. Yes. How about the day before and the day before? We started going through a calendar, and I tell her, okay, so how many years has this been going on? This is for like 5 years. I thought, okay. So now we started, okay, when you had your quinceañera, what happened in your quinceañera? Oh, he raped me on the día my quinceañera. The day before this, before that, homecoming, school events, games, dances. So I was able to break down events and sexual acts based on those dates. So I charged him with one count of each one of those. So at the end of the day, I had numerous counts. I had 36 counts of this, 100 counts of that. It was just crazy. So then we did a control call, what we call a control call. Where the victim calls the dad or the wife calls the dad, and they confront him. And he played the game. He asked her at one point, it says, if the cops are there, I'm going to tell them that it's all your fault. It's all your fault. Are the cops listening? Are the cops listening to the call? And, we're listening to the call too. So we're telling her what to say and how to get away from that subject. But the guy admitted to stuff, and now it's time to go arrest him. And the guy was 1 hour behind. We were 1 hour behind him all the time, dude. We chased him all over San Diego County. He's here, he's there, he's here, he's there. Because family members were getting him away. And next thing you know, he's in Mexico. And he was never to be found again.
Wow. What year was this case, Benny?
Let me see. That was Vegas case was an '07 case too.
An '07 case. So he's been definitely out free and probably still raping young kids.
Oh yeah. It's un mañoso. I mean, he was taking her to work on his days off just to have sex with her. I mean, he tore her up. I mean, this girl, I mean, he tore up her heart, dude. I mean, she was failing in school, nothing but F's, not showing up to school. She couldn't concentrate. She was era una burra. Just fucking, she couldn't get it. I mean, she was just so messed up and so traumatized. It was really sad. Very, very sad.
Jenny, going back to 2007, they were probably all illegal, right?
David, I don't know because he's got his DL. He's got a valid DL.
Well, in 2007, I believe they were giving him DLs through the U.S. Embassy, Mexican Embassy.
Okay, I don't know. La mamá era, and the girl wasn't. The girl was from here. She was a U.S. citizen.
And I read the report when you sent it to me. Oh, go ahead, Bobby. Go ahead.
Yeah. Does he still have a warrant right now?
Yeah.
Do we know where in Mexico he's at?
No. He could be in the U.S. That's all we know. I mean,
Yeah.
And Benny, I remember you sent me the case, and I did read it. It started at 4 years old, not the rape, but the molestation started at 4 years old.
Yeah.
And then I think the rape started when she was like 10 or 12 or 12 or 13.
And then finally at 18, she just came forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was fed up with it. She was just fed up with it.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Ceci. This animal, that when he went to Mexico, he's continuing that same pattern of behavior. And there's more victims there. I pray that he's been caught or that he's in hell. One of the two, And we'll be posting this picture, Benny. So if any of our Mexican brothers from law enforcement in Mexico are watching, they could go after him, or the U.S. Marshals.
And if you see him, he's going to be. I mean, back then he was born in 1970, and that was a 2007 case. So how old does that make him?
55. 55.
55. So he might look pretty much the same, And I mean, if you see the guy, I mean, just call 911. Say you saw a guy who's wanted. He's wanted by the police. 911 for the U.S. Any 911 anywhere in the United States. In Mexico, I have no idea who you call when you see somebody that's wanted. You would know, David, since you worked over there quite a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Benny, and you never found out what happened to the girl? What happened to the family?
I tried to follow up, and the mom lost control of her, and she was not doing well.
Wow.
Like I said, I don't want to say much about the victim because she's it's still an open case, and if he gets arrested, we got to need her.
But Benny, it's 2007. There is a timeline other than murder that they. Well, you know what? It stops when he crosses international borders, right, Bobby? That timeline stops when they cross international border. It freezes, doesn't it? No matter if it's assault, sexual crime.
Those are heavy felonies. I don't think they're going to drop.
No, but you know what, Benny? But they do have timelines where they expire.
There's a statute of limitations, but I don't think it's that quick.
I think it's 10 years, Benny, and it's been over 10 years.
You know what? You're right. It's 10 years. I think it is 10 years.
I believe it's 10 years, and no matter, rape, 1,000 cases, it's rape. Other than murder, does it? But Bobby, I have a question for you. I know you worked in Mexico too, in Monterrey. Does the timeline stop when they're fugitives and cross an international border?
I know I had to answer this question before, and I don't remember. But let me think. I had a person I went to school with reach out to me, and her husband was molesting a relative for years, something similar. And the husband, when he got the FBI went over, because it involved multiple states, he fled to Mexico. And the wife, who I went to school with, who just happened to call me because she was a cop, helped him flee. I was like, you're lucky they didn't throw your ass in jail yet. And he turned himself in 8 years later. And they did him. So it must, I don't know what the statute of limitations was here, but I think they did him. Federally.
It says for Penal Code Section 290, parenthesis C, it's 10 years.
Okay.
But I thought there was, like Bobby said, something if they cross the border that it froze that statute of limitations. But we need to check on it. But Benny, you got a question from Big Joe. How about the mom? She had to know about it. Was she ever charged?
Absolutely.
I'm looking at something else here. There's no statute if it's a 280, 288, 289, but that's a sexual penetration with an object. So I don't know. Yeah, I will have to do more research. The mother she just typical domestic violence woman, you know. At one point she was blaming. At one point she was blaming the daughter for doing this, you know, for being flirtatious and whatever, you know. The mother several times came home late from work, and she caught a glimpse of what was going on, and she never followed up on it. She was afraid.
Yeah, she's probably illegal. Go ahead, Bobby.
Arizona has no statute of limitations, regardless of how long, if it involves a minor. So, like, if that happened in Arizona, the warrant's still good. And another thing I want to tell our viewers, it's something horrible about the culture in Mexico. We all know it exists, especially the people from the ranchos out there in rural areas. Here in Phoenix PD has sex crime unit for adult. They have detectives that do sexual assaults on adults, and they have the kiddie crimes unit, only do the molestation cases. In Phoenix PD, they always have to have a group of Spanish-speaking detectives because there's a unbelievable number of molestations from cases just like this. Illegals living in our country, step kid or something. Those happen over and over, and then they flee to Mexico. I know at one time they were trying to use our foreign prosecution unit to start trying to nab some of these guys back in Mexico. But it happens so much that they have to recruit Spanish speakers just to work those type of molestations at Phoenix PD.
Hey guys, I'm going to have Chalo right now. He's going to be on the air. I think he has updated information on this. Hold tight. I think you guys should be able to hear him. Yeah, can you hear me? I got you live. Everybody can hear you. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, check this out. 288.5 and I believe 288.7. If the sexual content was repeatedly and it's sexual, in other words, you know, penis or foreign object, which is fingering like that, mouth, tongue. If it's done to a child from the age of 14 all the way to 0 months to 14, there's no statute of limitation.
Okay.
Wow. No statute of limitations, Benny.
Statute of limitation for 14 and younger.
14 and younger.
Yeah. And I believe there's an enhancement if the guy, the perp is 10 years older too. The 14 plus 10 years or older, you have enhancements. So that I remember that there was some case that we worked because it was a 12-year-old girl, and it's almost the same thing. And they thought, oh yeah, statute of limitation expired, and we're like, oh hell no. The law had changed.
Perfect. Great. Gracias, Chalo. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Vale, gracias.
Thank you.
I'm reading California Section 801.1. Prosecutors must charge someone, by the victim's 40th birthday, if the victim was under the age of 18 when the offense happened. So it's got to be by the age of 40. So there is a statute. Once you turn 40, it's over.
Yeah. Hey guys, you know what? There's a new show. I believe it's on Amazon. I believe it started with Amazon. It's on Netflix now. It's called Cazadores de Gringos. I know the supervisor, el jefe, in charge of the group. Maybe we could reach out to him, Ben, if you could give us a little more information on him, and maybe they could make him a target if they're working. I mean, they're working with U.S. law enforcement or liaison units going after Americans that are in Mexico, even though he's a Mexican. But if they're willing to bring him back, I'm sure that we could probably get him. That's something we might be able to work with in the near future. Guys, so now we got plenty of time. We got 10 more minutes. Now let's go back to robbery. You went from Bad Grandpa, Venegas case. Now we go back. Tell us about the Brown Hood Bandit series.
Well, that was a series that was going on in North County. And I caught heat for that one. Once it got on the paper, they started saying that we were racist because, well, that happened when the suspects got arrested and they found out they were Mexican guys. They were saying that we knew all along, and that we were calling them brown hooded because they were Mexican. That kind of political crap, But anyway, these two guys were. It's funny because there's two suspects. Juan Flores. Juan Flores is in San Quentin too right now. Juan Flores was an associate of the Mexican mafia in bad standings. Enrique Valdez was his crime partner. Was a little bit older, but when they both got arrested and went to prison, Valdez got hit that 1 week. In the first week, he got hit by the M. Soreños hit him. So something was going on there with the M. But this guy did so many robberies. There's a video, David. I think it's 27 robberies.
Wow.
And they were all over North County. So I started taking them all because they were hitting San Marcos the most and in the county area of Escondido, which was my jurisdiction. And they started hitting Escondido. They hit Escondido a few times, but they hit mostly like Vista, Bonzo, Paula, those areas that were all sheriff's jurisdictions. So I just took all the cases. And I had a great crime analyst that was giving us time frames as when these guys were going to hit again. There was a pattern. So we were staying.
Hey, Benny, before you continue, were you already assigned to that special bank robbery federal task force? Or were you working just at area command and you go, hey, man, you know what? I, as a area command detective, I'm going to take these 17 cases. Was it like that?
Well, I just got assigned to it. The sergeant said, hey, this cases are right up your alley. He said, we got a few of them already. So I got them and started working them.
Okay. Yeah. But usually, Benny, on series like that, you have a special, that's the task force that you were on before. That's a special task force that basically handles those type of series cases, at least with San Diego PD. We have a robbery unit that they handle those, and then the area commands handle the 7-Eleven, the liquor store. Did you guys have a robbery unit that handled those cases?
No, the robbery units were established by each command, each station. Each station
okay, you were part of that.
Yeah. Now, the FBI had that was a different task force, the bank robbery task force, the FBI's bank robbery task force. Mm-hmm. But for the Brown Hood Bandit, these guys were hitting us big time, dude. And we had a pattern. We had surveillances put out because we thought we were going to hit in certain days. And then we thought of a day that they were going to hit. We set up, they're going to hit today. They got to hit today. And these guys have hit the same San Marcos market twice already. So what's the chance of them hitting it the third time? We figured, they're not going to hit the third time. And my sergeant was a pretty cool guy, Tom Bulow. He says, you know what, Benny? I think they might come back to the same market again. They're getting a lot of money there. And I says, no. I thought, I don't think so, Sarge. He says, yeah, I think they're going to hit again. And so we set up our surveillance, right? That afternoon around 3 o'clock, I think it was around 3 o'clock, call comes out, 211 in progress, shots fired at the market. So the sergeant's like a block away. He's still sharking that area because he thinks that they're going to hit there. So, of course, he was the first one on scene. He puts out information on the car. Our black and whites right away caught the car, right away spotted the car. And the chase is on. It's on the 78 going west. The guys open fire on the cops. They hit the 5, and they're going north on the 5. On the 5, they start tossing shit out. They blow out the back window to the car, and they start throwing out their mask, their gloves, their clothing. They're throwing everything out. And we have so many units behind them that units are picking up all the shit as it's going along. And they finally toss out the gun. They were tossing out their guns. So when they got to the checkpoint in San Clemente, the Border Patrol shut down the checkpoint. Because we called and said, that Border Patrol shut down the checkpoint. So they shut down the checkpoint, and that's when they gave up. They said, oh, shit, we're done. and we got him.
And Benny, tell us, because I saw that video. I couldn't download it because, like I said, if I would have been at home, I would have. But I'm here using my laptop. But we'll show it next time. But tell us about these guys. Were actually addicted to. They were what do you call it? Gamblers, right? They were gamblers.
They were gamblers, and they were addicted to methamphetamine.
Yeah,
and gamblers. They're constantly going to the casinos, spending money, throwing money around. I mean, these guys, when they hit the market in San Marcos, it was a wild gun battle. The store owner had a Glock, and he comes out with the Glock, and it was a Glock 45, and he emptied the whole mag. The dude says that he fired 5 rounds and the suspect fired 3. No, dude, that place looked like Swiss cheese. And he says, oh, nobody was in the market. No, there was people in the market, including his clerks. He came out, found the suspect, opened fire on him. And then you can see where he sticks his arm out and he's just shooting away at the market. And the bandits shooting back at him. It was a gunfight. I mean, they killed the store. They killed everything inside that store.
Wow.
It was the media was out there. I mean, that was the big thing, you know. You never hear about a store clerk getting into a shootout with the bad guy, you know.
Yeah,
you know what? It's pretty cool. It's an old video, but it kind of gives you and it shows you the shooting.
Benny, tell us about. We're running out of time. We got 5 more minutes. Plus, we want to talk about next week's guest. But tell us about the Geezer Bandit. We're going to have you come back and do a whole hour on the Geezer. That's a very interesting case because he was never caught. Well,
the Geezer Bandit probably never got caught because he's not old and he's a young guy, and he's probably serving time someplace else, or is still doing bank robberies under a different disguise. You know, we contacted, there was a clerk at one of the banks out of San Diego County. So we went to interview that clerk. And that clerk says that when he reached out, he saw dark skin. I'm not saying the guy's black because it could be anybody. He had dark skin. And when he turned around, she saw dark skin right here. So she says the guy was not an old man. He was either black or Hispanic or a very dark complected white guy. So the lady follows him as he runs out the bank. She follows and looks out the door and sees him going over a 6-foot wall at the bank in the parking lot like nothing. So obviously he's not the geezer. Not a geezer. He's not old.
Yeah.
But the guy.
How many cases did they have on him?
Let me see what the Geezer Bandit has. The last time he operated as the Geezer Bandit, which was in 2011, I believe, they had him for at least 16 robberies.
Wow, it never got caught.
Yeah. You know, when we had the Escondido bomb house, the guy had a disguise that kind of matched the Geezer Bandit. And the guy had done bank robberies in San Diego and I think one in Escondido. But there was so much clutter in that house that we couldn't get in that room because of the booby traps and, you know, officer safety thing. And there was a mask there. And so we never got to that. But the day this guy
was white. Your guy at that bomb was white, right?
Yeah, but what says that guy's not disguising himself with something else?
Yeah, painting his skin. Yeah.
So when I interviewed him for the bomb house, I asked him. I said, dude, are you the Geezer Bandit? And he started laughing. He says, why? Because you saw the mask? So I'm not going to tell you anything about that. But he wasn't. It wasn't him. He was just messing with my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Bobby. I think you had something.
No, I was just cracking up at that. It's incredible. Some of the police chases we see, looks like California is the capital for wild police chases that go on forever. We see them here; they're pretty amazing. And then you see a CHP or somebody do the pit maneuver to finally end it.
And you know what? I think Chris Kilby. I was in robbery during the Geezer Bandit. I was going to say right now before he came up, he was working that too. So he has a lot to talk about that because that became a pretty big case.
Yeah, he hit the city of San Diego too quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah. Hey, Benny, you know what? Our worst enemy has just flown upon us. But listen, man, thank you, brother. Don't leave because I want you to talk about next week's guest. And I know you spoke to him today. tell us about them, and then I could jump in if you want me to. But next Tuesday on the gray line, the story behind the blue line at 6 p.m. It's all yours, Benny.
Well, we got Ali Perez. He's a retired San Diego sheriff detective who was working child abuse or sex crimes at the time of the incident where he was. He was involved in a shooting. They had reports of a father molesting the children, and he went to the house. The mother had given him consent and the keys to gain entry into the apartment. So they set up a team real quick to go out there and rescue the children and arrest them. And when they got on scene, they encountered gunfire. I mean, he kicked the door in because units outside were reporting that there was girls screaming, even though the units on the outside said, we don't know where the screams are coming from, but it sounds bad, and we don't know where it's coming from. So they assume, hey, it's the girls, because the girls I guess they were supposed to be there. I don't know the whole story on that. But he kicked the door in, he went inside, and immediately got engaged by the suspect. He opened fire on him, shot him with a .308 rifle. He went down. He survived. And you know more about it, David, because you actually read the book. I haven't had a chance to read the book, and you actually talked to Ellie, quite a bit.
Yeah, you know what, Benny? It's going to be a great episode, especially when he was shot twice with the 308. He talks about, it's called near-death experience. He's going to talk about what he saw, whether it was in his mind or not, but the story, how he tells it, it is deep, man. I can't wait. If you guys get a chance, please watch it next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And Bobby, tell us who our next Wednesday's guest. I've been watching Narcos 3. Dude, I am hooked. I've seen that probably about 4 or 5 times. I'm watching it right now here at my daughter's house. I could watch another 10 times. Tell us who we got, Bobby, next Wednesday on Ash Wednesday.
Chris Faisal is a retired DEA agent. Did a lot of time. I think he did about 12 years in Colombia. And retired here in Phoenix. He lives here in Phoenix. His character is portrayed in Narcos, the 3rd season, Netflix Narcos Colombia, the 3rd season. He is one of the guys that comes in, and he was a specialist on the finances. So he's really excited of having him out here. He went after the Cali cartel, and a lot of people always think of Pablo Escobar, the Medellin being like the big dogs. Cali was a monster.
Yes,
they were not really known as. Pablo got a lot of the violence.
Publicity.
He's known for all the violence. Cali was involved in a lot of violence, but Cali helped take out Medellin. They helped take out Pablo, and I'm really looking forward to it. He's wrote a book, and it's called After Pablo. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, After Pablo.
Escobar. Yeah, After Pablo, After Escobar. So I could see this being at least a 2-episode interview with him, and I'm really Los Pepes helped take out Pablo Escobar and his gangsters. So I'm really looking forward to having him on. He'll be on next week, next Thursday.
And guys, do yourself a favor. Don't do me a favor, but do yourself a favor. Please watch this week Narcos 3, but not Narcos 3 Mexico, Narcos 3 Colombia, because that's where he is portrayed throughout I believe it's a 10-part series. On all 10 parts, I mean, this guy is a legend, man. He didn't take Pablo Escobar down, but he took these guys down, where I believe that they were a lot more powerful than Pablo Escobar. Oh, it's going to be I can't wait to have him. And guys, before we leave, I'm going to once again just talk about, if you're in Southern California, you want to taste the best birria. The owner of this restaurant, he's co-owner with a gentleman that comes from Tijuana that had one of the biggest birria places in all Baja California Norte, there in Tijuana. He is now living in San Diego. Oscar Armenta is a retired detective sergeant with the San Diego Police Department. He's my little brother. You know, we may not be blood brothers, but I'm telling you, I love Oscar like a little brother. And he's the owner of this. You guys want to try the best birria? It's right there in just passing Chula Vista on Coronado, I-5 Coronado, and I-5 and Coronado on Hollister. If you go there and you don't like it, what you ate, send me the bill and I will seal you or I will send you a check. That's how much I believe in this food. It is delicious. Please, if you get a chance. Yes, and the episode of Narcos 3, it's on Netflix right now. It's Cali on Netflix. Yes, Ceci. But yeah, if you get a chance, you want to try the best birria, go to La Central Birria and just Oscar Armenta, like I said, former San Diego police officer. You want to see judges, you want to see federal agents, you want to see local police officers, they're always there eating, and that's a good sign that the food is good. Right? Right, Benny?
Yep.
It's a good sign that the food is good. Guys, with that said, can't wait for next week. Benny, any last words, brother?
Just for the guys that are still out there working, be prepared to engage. Know how to engage. And before that day comes, run scenarios through your head. What ifs? What ifs? What ifs? When you go into a call and it's a hot call, start thinking about it. Hey, what if this? What if that? What? Be prepared. Have it, it's developing that mindset of being ready.
Definitely. Without a doubt. Be ready. Bobby?
Following up on that, when you go to the gun range, don't just practice shooting at a paper target, the usual qualification. Think up of different scenarios where you're shooting flat on your back, on your stomach, on your side, from a vehicle, all the different scenarios. You got to practice, because the last thing you want to do is, especially for you active duty guys, suddenly be in a position you've never fired from. And take it serious when you're out at the gun range. So
and
I
move,
agree with you 100%.
And move when you're shooting. Move it. Don't just stand there. Move.
Move. Exert yourself. Do push-ups. Run. And then start shooting when you're exhausted and sweating.
And Bobby, it's funny you say that. When I read that book, bless him, he actually talks about his arm. He had been shot twice with a 308 M1 rifle. His whole right arm was unusable, so he had one magazine in his hand and got into a shootout. The guy has a 308, he has a 9mm. They're shooting it out, and he runs out of ammo. So now he is basically had to use one hand to reload. It's funny you say that, because he's going to be talking about it next week. It's going to be a great episode. Yep. Guys, with that said, once again, Benny, you know what, brother? You outdid yourself. Mil gracias. It was an outstanding episode. Man, it was outstanding episode. And with that said, guys, don't forget, you know what? Live a purpose-driven life. Live every day like it's your last day on earth. And remember, one phone call, like Chris Kilby says, one phone call can save a life. If you haven't talked to somebody in a while and all of a sudden they come to mind, they come to your heart when you're asleep or wherever you're at, it's God telling you, give them a call. Just remind them that they're not alone. With that said, we'll see you next Tuesday. We're going to have a great episode, and we'll see you next Wednesday. God bless you. Thank you.
Yo ya sabía pa' dónde iba, así es que no batallé. Ya tenía trazado el camino, no la pensé y me la rifé. Y que ahora viene la mía, que tanto es tantito se pueda perder. Es que de estar hasta el fondo no había más para abajo, y pues para arriba fue. Los planes que cargaba en mente, pronto los materialicé. Con la ayuda de 2 amigos, y luego se sumaron 3. Una voz que me decía, échele ganas, mijo, jamás pierda la fe. Seguí la corazonada y así grité al mundo que traía con qué. Disfrutando del proceso, no me preocupo del mañana ni el ayer. Si el presente aquí lo tengo, y voy a atorarle hasta donde el corazón me dé.